Thank you. Senator Blunt Rochester.
Thank you, Chairman Cruz and Ranking Member Cantwell. At the heart of this hearing is a fundamental question about how the U.S. will compete on the world stage and maintain our national security. These are the questions that will define the future of this country. For American families to see lower prices and better economic opportunities, we have to meet this moment honestly and seriously. And I'm proud to have joined Senators Cantwell and Blackburn to reintroduce the bipartisan Promoting Resilient Supply Chains Act, legislation that I led and authored in the House. This bill ensures that we have a national strategy to address our broken supply chains, whether it is a bridge collapse, a major global conflict, or unions striking for their rights. Interruptions and disruptions to our supply chains severely impact our economy. Our bipartisan legislation tackles this issue by elevating supply chains like the disruptions at the Panama Canal to be proactive and strategic. It helps us understand how we strengthen our ties with our friends and allies instead of pushing them into the arms of our competitors. I agree with Ranking Member Cantwell that we should have a hearing on how we compete with countries like China. And I have grave concerns about China's global infrastructure investments and any cyber threats to the U.S. Addressing these are our national security interests. With that, I'd like to shift to my first line of questioning, and it is for you, Captain Kramek. It's no secret that the canal has had issues due to droughts, nor is increasingly frequent drought a new phenomenon. Do you believe the Panama Canal Authority did enough to anticipate the issues impacting the canal's operation?
Senator Blunt Rochester, thanks for your question. They did the best, I guess, with the information that they had. I don't know that they anticipated a drought of that magnitude. I would say going forward, what Commissioner Maffei just discussed about the development of a second reservoir to feed into Lake Gatun, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers doing a feasibility review of that project, as well as some other projects that were mentioned. That seems to be a good path forward in terms of resiliency of the Panama Canal and making it a viable waterway for 2050 and beyond.
I think part of the challenge is that it was recently started and time is of the essence. Did you think that the Canal Authority considered the obvious impacts from drought in its planning?
Senator Blunt Rochester, I don't have that information on what they considered.
It is clear that the Canal Authority knew that this would have an impact on shipping and that enough hadn't been done to address it. Now that we're faced with this impact, what do you think the Canal Authority needs to do expeditiously to bring the canal back into full authority, full operation?
So they are back to full operation, is my understanding. Traffic is flowing well. But looking forward, I think it is taking a hard look at some of these infrastructure projects to make the canal more viable, like I mentioned.
The Port of Wilmington is in my state. We're very proud of it. It's one of the leading importers of fruits. The delays through the canal have an outsized impact on perishable goods like those that my port handles. Do you believe the Canal Authority can and should prioritize perishable goods or provide some other solution to support perishable goods? And anyone on the panel can answer that.
Yes, ma'am. Let me address your question because I'm not sure it's my place to exactly answer it, but you're quite right. So one of the complaints that we've heard is from container shippers, that mostly exporters, that export goods, as you say, and many other commodities too, are sensitive either because of market conditions, such as cotton, or because of actual perishability of the product, such as what you mentioned. However, they're on container ships, and most of the cargo on the container ship is less time sensitive. In the bidding process that the Panamanian Canal Authority developed in order when they did have to ration these slots, it was a bidding process, and the highest bidder got the first slot, got the less of a delay. The challenge there is every kind of commodity and every kind of ship was bidding. So liquid natural gas, which is extraordinarily, all the cargo on that ship is both extraordinarily valuable, not that your agricultural commodities aren't valuable, but compared pound for pound to the LNG, and very, very, I mean, it's out, you know, you're losing volume every delay. So they would far outbid the container shippers. Now, whether or not there's something that can be done specifically to help these container, I'm not sure. We've been looking into that, but it does remain a large concern is how do we figure out a way for these agricultural shippers who are, you know, not the main players on these ships, but part of it, important part of it, particularly for the United States. So you bring up a great question. I wish I had a better answer, but
Thank you for your answer. I'll be submitting some questions for the record because I know my time has run out, and I really want to understand also what we can do as the United States in terms of us being able to bid and be competitive in these bids. What can we do better? So I'll be submitting questions for the record. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Thank you. Senator Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.